Hi Rufin, Amy here. I just want to give you some feedback on your rough draft like you asked for. I think I will just start with the technical MLA stuff and then I'll jump into the summary itself. So for your formatting, you're definitely on the right track. You have a couple of extra spaces here before your name that could be deleted. You also need to reverse these two lines because for proper MLA we have the instructor's name first and then the class or course number afterwards. So it's just reverse these two. And then actually for MLA formatting, the dates are a little funky, so the numeral day comes first, then the abbreviated month, and then the year. And you actually don't need any of this, TH or the comma or anything like that. So it would just be 24 Feb 2015. And then for your title, I wonder if you could maybe come up with a more precise title like Summary or Summary of Johnson's How Twitter Will Change the Way We Live or Summary of Johnson, because right now just the word Twitter isn't really giving me any indication as to what your essay is really going to be about. So moving on to your Works Cited page, I've noticed that you do need to do some work here to make this MLA accurate. So for one thing, you want to move it down to the top of the next page instead of putting it right at the bottom of your summary. So I would just move it down, and then you would actually center the words bibliography at the top, but for MLA it should actually be Works Cited. And I can see that you're using a style box here. I would just get rid of that altogether and instead just type your Works Cited in like this, because the style box makes it really hard for you to make any edits to your actual formatting. So go ahead and type it in yourself. You're correct that you do have the last name first, Johnson, Stephen. But actually the article title goes in quotes, not italics. And then the source title goes in italics. And so in this case, it's just time. And then you have the organization, and then the year with a comma in between. And then you need the electronic access information, so web, and then the access date. And so I'm going to assume it was in the last couple of weeks, so we can just say maybe like the 24th of Feb 2015. So again, this is how you would want to do your date at the top, with the numeral day first, then the abbreviated month, and then the year, followed by a period. And then you can highlight the whole thing, the citation itself, right-click, go to your paragraph box, and then in the indentation section, under where it says Special, select Hanging, and that will give you the hanging indent. And then I would just get rid of all of this altogether, and that is your accurate Works Cited at the end. And then just jumping into the actual body of the summary itself, I also think you could add a little bit more of that not add a little bit more, but incorporate that same information a little more smoothly into this first paragraph. So first of all, you do need to italicize your publication title. And then I think that you maybe want to use a different verb here instead of discussing, maybe something like titled, How Twitter Will Change the Way We Live, because this isn't just the topic that he discusses, this is the actual title of his article. So you want to indicate that here and just be a little more direct. This is your paraphrase of the author's thesis. However, I think you could do a little bit more here, and also where you represent his thesis at the end to indicate exactly why he thinks these changes have been beneficial. So it's not just about what people used to think about it, but also what he is saying now people are being able to do that is so far beyond what they could originally. So it's true that Twitter does say that this is how it was initially designed, and in the beginning it was just brief exchanges. Some people considered it a waste of time, but now exactly what is good about Twitter. And you do get to that a little bit more in the second sentence, but it's not directly tied to your overall paraphrase of his thesis as much as it could be, and it really doesn't get at the overall argument, which is that the changes that users are making to the Twitter platform have exceeded far and beyond the purposes that the original designers of the program had envisioned. So There needs to be some allusion to that since that is the biggest part of his overall argument. So I would probably try to streamline that a little bit here. You know, you don't need to talk so much about the counter argument in terms of that people used to think it was a waste of time right up front here. Instead, give us the thesis right up front, and you can expound on counter arguments like this and the rest of his supporting points in the body of your summary. I also noticed that several places in the summary needed a lot more author tags or attributive tags. For example, we see a sentence here with no attributive tag. We see a sentence here with no attributive tag. We see a sentence here with no attributive tag. There is an attribution at the end of this sentence, but this is a rather long sentence, and so I think an author tag up front would help. Same here, it's another sentence without an attributive tag, and I think that was it. But in general, because it's a summary, you're going to need an attributive tag in pretty much every single sentence because all of the ideas should come from the article. You shouldn't have any of your own opinion, and as such, all the ideas should be Johnson's and therefore need attributive tags. I also felt like you could have done more in these two body paragraphs in particular to give us an overall list, basically, of the main points that Johnson develops to support his overall argument about the ways that Twitter has maybe improved since its original inception. And so, for example, in this paragraph, a couple of the quotes that you have don't make sense out of context, or even the paraphrase that you've included isn't interpreted enough right now to make sense to someone who hasn't read the article. So, for example, you mentioned ambient awareness and abbreviated status reports, but I wouldn't know what he meant by these words if I hadn't read the article itself. So I wonder if you can replace this long sentence here with maybe just a couple of shorter sentences about what ambient awareness is, what status reports are, and then what role these play in his overall argument about the pros or the benefits of Twitter. I also felt like this point here about the character limits was a little confusing to someone who hadn't read the article because you haven't explained yet why the users are no longer restricted to 140 words. And that was one of his main points, which was that they're linking to other sources. And so instead of, giving us vague quotes like this, tell us exactly what the benefits are, which are that it helps everyone be aware of what's going on in each other's lives, it gives us some chit-chat updates on each other, and it allows us to link to other sources and things like that. Okay, same with these quotes down here. Good job with a parenthetical citation here, but this does not need to be in bold, so you can just take the bold face away from there. And then I already mentioned that your thesis here at the end suffers from the same issue as your thesis at the beginning, which is that it's doing more to say what argument Johnson is going up against as opposed to what Johnson's actually saying about the value of Twitter or what he says the benefits are. So in general, you need to say for your thesis or your paraphrase of Johnson's thesis that Twitter is a good thing, or in some ways it's beneficial for people because it allows them to do things like be aware of what's going on in each other's lives, keep each other updated, link to other sources and things like that. But the biggest thing that has allowed it to be useful for the users is the way that the users themselves have manipulated the technology. So just make sure that you're covering all of that when you paraphrase the thesis, and then as far as each of those beneficial points go, you can move through them one by one here in your body paragraphs. Okay, so that about covers it for everything that I saw in your summary. I hope the feedback was not too confusing for you, but if you have questions about anything that I've said, you can certainly ask me questions, and I'm actually going to show you now how to go to the screen recorder interface that I've been using. So if you just go to Screencast-O-Matic, you can see the spelling of it here, SCREENCASTOMATIC.com, and then click on Start Recording. It might prompt you to update your Java, but once you've done all of that, it should let you record. And so if you wanted to pull up your essay and ask me a few questions as well, you could certainly make a video and send that back to me. And the process is pretty straightforward once you start recording. So if you have any more questions about that, you can, but if you want to send me a video back as well, I would certainly love to work through this with you further. All right, thank you so much, Rufin. I'll look forward to talking to you soon.